the agenda?
Sure. Go ahead.
Can we reverse 5 and 4 because the outcome of 4 is dependent upon the outcome of 5? Just change the order of them.
Okay, hang on a second. All right, so you want to switch item 4 and 5.
Yes.
Okay, that's no problem. All right, do I have a motion to accept that change in the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Don. Do I have a second?
Second, King.
Thank you, Mr. King. Shall do a roll call vote. Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Waters,
Yes.
and Commissioner Nalitz.
Yes.
All right, so we'll start with the reversed item, which is number 5, the vote on the rezoning of 108 Manatee Street from R13 residential to B20 commercial. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And we'll open it up for discussion.
Well, I didn't make the motion yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thought you did.
No, the motion is to return the zoning request for 108 Manatee Street back to the planning board for consideration of B10. Do you hear that?
Okay, so you're making a motion to send it back.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mayor. I would think it'd be appropriate to stay with the agenda and hear discussion. We're being asked to approve or disapprove. My understanding is those two zoning requests, and Commissioner King wants to send it back without explanation or discussion.
Well, what we have first was the motion to vote on it. That's what I presented, and that's what we had the second and the motion the second for, so we can discuss it. And then if you, Commissioner King, if you'd like to make a motion to send it back, we do that in the discussion part. So with that, if you would like to lead the discussion, Commissioner King, go right ahead.
Okay. What I'd like to do is just give a little history of this R13 district. Originally, that was zoned R20. For what reason, I don't know, but it was from the time we enacted zoning in '74 till about 2008 or 9. That was R20 when the lots were only 13,500 square feet. I don't know why the board chose to do that, but basically those lots stayed undeveloped until we changed the zoning to R13 in around 2008 or 9. I'm not sure exactly the time. And since that change, that whole district has taken off. In fact, since 2008, approximately 25 new houses were built in the R13 district since then. I attended, or was a virtual meeting, the planning board meeting. Mr. McLean was not present and made no discussion, and there was no discussion by anyone on the board of B10. So after the planning board made their recommendation, I called John 2 occasions and to find out what it is he wanted to do that required B20. And he said he wanted to relocate his little office that's over on the corner of Taylor Notion and 24. And with that, he wanted to build like a garage or store building to store was a lawnmower and tractor in there. And this is something that is suitable for B10 zoning. Mrs. Holt spoke up and she said she only wanted to zone B20 because she did not want to be sandwiched between two B20 zones, one to the north owned by her sister and one to the south owned by her brother. So after that, after our regular meeting last week, when 4 citizens spoke, I I went out and talked to the 4 citizens that had spoken at our meeting individually. And basically, in summary, what they wanted to see was B10, because they were afraid that they didn't feel like that John wasn't going to put the office there. They felt like he was going to do that, but they were worried about zoning a B20 down the road after maybe that office outused its need. And so they were concerned of B20 because there's really no differences in what you can do in B10 with regard to setbacks, buffers, or accessory buildings and their setbacks. The only differences between B10 and B20 are in the uses. And there's 56 uses in the B20 district, and they deal mostly with things like restaurants and retail business. There are 27 uses in B10 that are essentially professional offices, a much lower intensity. And it's good practice in zoning. B10 kind of acts as a buffer between B20 and residential. So what these people were, in talking to them, they wanted to avoid down the road a Dollar General going in there, or a Taco Bell or something like that, a restaurant going in there. Somebody could buy up those lots and combine them and do that. And that would require, if they did that, their service entrance would be over on Bonita on the back side. And the tractor trailer servicing any businesses, B20 type businesses down there, would have to go around down Manatee, over on Loma Linda and up in Bonita to service these things. And we already know that the traffic light at Manatee is well taxed. It's sometimes people go in there and you have to wait 2 lights before you can get out. One other point, both owners, the McLeans and the Holtzes, have undeveloped B20 property in the town. So if they really wanted to be in B20, they have property that's undeveloped that they own. And if 108 Manatee is zone B10, there's no need for 106 because it is already correctly zoned for its use. And if we didn't zone that, we ought to return Mrs. Holtz's application fee. So kind of in summary, B10 zoning allows Mr. McLean to do exactly what he wants without subjecting the residential district to the intensity of restaurant or retail business down the road. We should protect the residents of the R13 district that was created and served this town with a healthy, ever-increasing tax base for many years without problems, traffic congestion, or unnecessary intrusion. I'm through, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Let me ask a question to Zachary right quick. Did we have any more public comment come in since the meeting?
No, I'm not aware of any public comments that we received after the meeting last week. So, and Heather's on here as well, but I checked with her earlier and we had not received any written comment on either of the 2 rezonings that we're discussing this evening.
Okay, just want to make sure everybody had their voice heard. All right, next Don Miller, if you'd have any comments.
Yes, I actually agree with everything Mike just said. Actually, I was hoping we'd keep the agenda as it was because I had a question about the first one, which was 106, which we haven't started discussing yet. And I was wondering why did they want to change that zoning when the office is already there? But we're talking about 108 now, and I asked the same question as Mike. If the object is to move an office building over there next to where Paxton's office is now, which is already zoned to B10, why does it need to be a B20? I agree with everything Mike said. I'm kind of curious. I don't see any need for it to be more than what 106 is already zoned at as a B10 for both of them. If that's what they intend to do, is to keep the one office building there and place another one beside it. So I'm not really sure that I support this. I just don't. I can see what the neighbors are afraid of down the line. They may be putting offices there right now, but once we zone it as a B20, who knows what's going to happen 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line if somebody, when they sell that property, if they do, and what somebody else wants to do there.
Okay,
That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you, Don. Jim's raising his hand, so we'll let Jim have it next.
Yeah, the Paxson is in 104. 106 is empty. 108 is empty. He wants a buffer, an empty buffer between her and her brother. So she's in a B20 right now. Her office is a B20, just like across the street from her is a B20. Snyder's 2 B10s. She wants to combine them into a B20, but not to do anything on it at this point, just to use it as what she says is a buffer between her and the 2 R13s, which she wants converted to B10 or combined to a B20. But so that, I mean, as far as getting the lots aligned the way they actually are on the map. And I can understand that the folks not wanting to have a big restaurant or have additional stuff like that, but you can't have a restaurant in there to begin with. There's no way that a restaurant could get in there and have proper sanitation. The back lots on the dead end of Juanita aren't good for almost anything. So to combine the two, front and back, Manatee B10, Bonita B10, and combine them into a, there's not much use for those B10s in the back right now, and that'll make a complete lot. The area is already commercial. That is, you've got McDonald's, and you've got whatever that other thing is next to between McDonald's and used to be Steel Company. Now it's something else. I think Mr. Fish has his carpentry shop in there. But anything that's any kind of noxious business, I would assume the board could prohibit. I don't see any major problems with it myself. That's it.
All right, thank you, Jim. Steve, would you like to comment?
The planning board approved it. I believe that was 5-0, whatever it was, and sent it to us for approval. I see no problem with it. So I certainly understand some of the things Mike is saying, though, but I wasn't privy to any conversation with Mr. McLean. I do wish he would have been more clear about, would have attended the planning board meeting and made it clear what his intentions were instead of Commissioner King having to reach out and ask him. But if there was a problem with it, I'm sure the planning board and Zach Steffi would have found something during the process of the planning board meeting. So I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Commissioner Waters?
I just have to basically echo what Mr. Naylor said and also what Steve said. I understand the concerns, but I really don't have a problem moving forward with this due to the size and types of lots they are and what is capable of being placed into those areas.
Okay. All right, with that being said, we had the motion, a second.
One other comment. I want, Mr. Mayor, can I be recognized?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Mr. Nail, I think you got the numbers wrong. 104 is Laura Fulcher's lot, and that's zoned B20. Paxson's is not B20, it's B10. And the one next to Paxson's on the south side of it is 108, and he is requesting B20, but he gave no reason, and his need is only a B10.
Okay. Go ahead, Jim, if you want to respond.
Yeah, I was just going off the GIS maps. Maybe they're wrong.
I don't think they're wrong.
Oh, they say that she's on a B20.
Who?
And she's 104. Paxton's 104.
It's-
And 102, I guess, is next door, the carpentry shop or whatever that is. 106 is vacant. I mean, it's a B10. And then 108 is an R13. So she's not going to be wanting to convert the lot she's on. One beside her.
Yes.
What?
No, that's not correct. She wants to, if he gets zoned B20, she wants to convert hers to B20. She is B10. Zach, would you clear this
106.
up?
Yeah, Paxton's at 106 Manatee Street, currently zoned B10, and Bubba McLean or John McLean is at 108 Manatee Street, zoned R13. So both of them are requesting to go to B20. Laura Fulcher, who's next to Paxton's property to the north, is zoned B20. So that's probably where the confusion is. It goes McDonald, then Laura Fulcher, those are both B20, and then it goes B10 at Paxton's real estate office. And then the next vacant property is the one that Bubba's talking about rezoning to B20.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments, gentlemen?
Zach, in the future of these planning board meetings, I think you should limit the amount of requests for zoning to issues to like one per meeting. I mean, it's not like it's life threatening that they get approved or disapproved. What I'm seeing here is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of misunderstanding simply because there's the different issues and different people that own the property. But there again, I have no problem with it. I understand the planning board thoroughly examined this, and you're okay with what they found, and they recommended it be to the board of commissioners, so I'm okay. But in the future, I would try to limit these requests. I mean, this is too much to absorb at one time. It's too much conflict. You understand what I'm trying to say, Zach? There's too much going on.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't know that we have a legal right to limit an
I
applicant
don't
to
know
get.
that.
Yeah, if they submit their materials on time and meet all the deadlines, then we have to process. So we could get 20 applications for rezonings in 1 month and have to move them forward if they meet all the deadlines. That's just kind of.
Well, there's a lot of confusion in this particular instance. I'm just saying maybe you could just say, hey, look, if you don't have to have a yes or no on it tomorrow or the next meeting, can you postpone it? Just for more clarity, you know what I'm saying? But if you can't, that's fine. But
Mr. Mayor, a couple comments.
Go ahead, Mike.
First of all, comment on something that Mr. Naylor said. There's the sewer line at the McDonald's right up there. So if some time down the road that they wanted to put a restaurant or retail store in there, that they would just have to go up to the street to hook into that system and then buy an allocation from the people who run the sewer plant in there. Second thing is the planning board did not address anything but B20. B10 was never discussed, and John McLean wasn't there to say what his needs are, but he's clearly wanting something for B10, and why he's asking for B20. I had Heather get him copies of the appendix to the zoning code so he'd understand exactly what was allowed there, which he picked up. But when I called him back after he'd reviewed that, he said he wanted B20, and I wonder what they want there for B20 if the use that they stated to the planning board is only B10.
All right, any other comments? If not, then we'll just do a roll call vote on this and see where it goes. All right, so Mike, I'm going to start with you, Commissioner King.
Excuse me, Mayor, could you repeat the motion on the table, please?
The motion on the table, hang on a second, let me pull my thing back up for the agenda. The motion on the table, hang on, is to approve the rezoning of 108 Manatee Street from R13 to B20. That is the motion, and that is what we're voting on.
Mr.
And
Mayor.
so, Commissioner King, I'll start with you.
No,
Mr. Mayor, I think Commissioner King's motion was to send it back to the planning board. So I think
Yeah, but that was after I'd made the motion to vote on with the item that was on the agenda, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. I believe we had a motion and a second to vote on the item on the agenda before Commissioner
Right.
King made.
That's correct. I seconded the motion on the agenda, not
Right.
what Mr. King was talking about.
Right. So
so. And just for clarity, just so we know, so who seconded the motion, the follow-up motion from Commissioner King?
John,
I seconded the motion to, and asked for clarity, that we are voting on the agenda item, not what Mr. King injected, earlier. When I said that we need to discuss it before we make a motion to send it back to the planning board. So we've had our discussion. So my feeling is we're voting on the actual agenda.
right.
Okay.
Right. That's my understanding is how that process went on. Okay. So everybody clear? We're voting on the item on the agenda, which is to approve that zoning. And Mike, I believe you voted no. Are you just want to reiterate your vote, sir?
it is no.
Okay. So we have a no from Commissioner King. Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nalitz,
Yes.
and Commissioner Waters.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 4-1. Next on the agenda was the flipped item number 4, which is a vote on the rezoning of 106 Manatee Street from B10 commercial to B20 commercial. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Steve. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Jim. And we'll open this one up for discussion. Any comments?
Yeah, Mr. King, now that we've approved B20 for the John McLean lot at 108, I can understand Mrs. Holt's request to zone hers B20 because it does her harm. It's just not any good to be a B10 between B20, because when you're B20, you can have B10 in there anyway, so she can continue to run her business just the way she was, but the value of her lot would go down by the very fact that we zoned something down the street adjacent to her to B20. So I would support this, but only because we zoned the other one B20. If we had not done that, I wouldn't, she could keep her zoning because she is zoned correctly for her business.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any other comments? And do we have any more public input on that lot? Zach, any comment, public comment come in?
No, we didn't receive any written comments or public comment after the board meeting last week.
Okay, well, if there are no more comments, then I will call for the roll call vote. We'll start with Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nalitz,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
and Commissioner Waters.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And I believe that is all the items we had on our agenda for the evening. And so unless somebody has anything else they'd like to discuss, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Steve, I got Steve first, so who wants to second? Okay, Jim second. Thank you, Jim. And we'll roll call vote our way out of this. Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Waters, Commissioner Nailitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
and Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Hope y'all have a great rest of the week. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you, Zach. And thank you, John. Appreciate you being here.
And that's all.